Hello, everybody. I'm Gary Massa with Moss and Associates, and again, back to episode 6 of Leaving California. Today, I'm with PollyAnna Snyder from Bozeman, Montana. Our 6th interview that we're going to do in this whole process of leaving California. Now, again, we're evaluating why people are leaving California and where they're going, and there's so many reasons. But Montana, and I'm really excited to share with you PollyAnna's story and the information that she's going to share with us, because no one's really talking about Montana. They're talking about the top 5 states: Texas, Nevada, Oregon, Washington, and Arizona are the top states that Californians are leaving to go to, according to the last couple of years. But just to put some things in perspective, and I think that when I shared this with PollyAnna, she was a little surprised, but there was, from the IRS, How Money Walks report, there was $1.5 billion that moved from California to Bozeman, Montana during 1992 to 2018. The number two, so California is the number one mover, in terms of money into Montana. The next one's Colorado with 500 million, that's 3 times the amount is coming from California, which no one probably thought about. And here's another perspective. That's the same amount of New Yorkers' money moving into Tennessee, or the same amount of people from Illinois into Nevada, right? And into the county of Gallatin County, where PollyAnna lives in Bozeman, Montana. There's the top 5 out of the top 5 counties moving into that county. 2 of them are from California: Orange County, which is where PollyAnna is from, and LA County, which seems to be moving everywhere in the United States but LA. And the thing is that, to put it in perspective, from LA, there was $36.34 million that moved during that same time period into Gallatin County. That's the same amount of people from LA that went to Ellis County, which is in Texas, where Dallas is basically. And that everyone's talking about people going to Dallas. No one's really talking about going to Montana. So PollyAnna, thank you so much for joining us. Tell us your story. How did you make it out to Montana, to Bozeman?
Thanks, Gary. Thanks so much for having me on the call. And it's interesting because I can relate with where you are, because I used to be there. So right. I actually began my real estate career in 1998 in South Orange County. Primarily worked San Clemente, Dana Point, Laguna Beach, that area. And, around 2005, my husband and I began to feel the ground getting just a little squishy. And if you know what I mean. Right. And around 2006, end of 2006, we left San Clemente, which is where we lived. We had gone back to the East Coast. I thought I wanted to be closer to my family, and I would love to be closer to my family. But I have this analogy of, once you've lived out west, it's really hard to go back east. And I analogize it to, I know the women can relate with this, trying to put pantyhose back into a sleeve. If you're at Nordstrom's, you take them out to look at the color and put it back in. You just can't do it. So once you've lived out west, it's just nearly impossible to go back east. So we began to migrate back west. Obviously, that was 06, 07, 08, where the world's real estate market was going. We moved to Telluride, Colorado. Irony of ironies, California and Colorado. And then my husband was offered a great job here in Bozeman. As I was sharing with you earlier, back in 2005, I actually sold a home in San Clemente to a family that had lived here in Bozeman, and they were relocated there for a job. They were devastated to leave Bozeman. I didn't even know where Bozeman was on the map. However, within a couple of years, I found it and have been here since 2009.
Wow. Okay.
And it was, as I tell people, it was the best move we ever made. People come here. There are a lot of people here from out of the area. A lot of people from the South, like I am. My husband's from Orange County. I'm from Kentucky and Virginia originally. Okay. And Bozeman is a really good melting pot. It's a highly educated, well-traveled community, and very diverse. Bozeman really has what I consider the most diversified economy in the state. Currently, we are 5th in size. However, we are projected in the next 10 to 12 years to be the largest city in the state of Montana. And what really helps us is, if when you look at a map, when people think about Montana, they think about big sky country. Well, I live in Bozeman, Big Sky, Montana. The ski resort is just about 45 minutes down the street. In Paradise Valley, if you watch the TV show Yellowstone, is just about 30 miles to the east of me. So it is really a slice of paradise here.
Nice. Well, and I mean, you guys, so, Bozeman, for those of you who haven't found the map yet, it's, South Montana. So you're still, easily able to get across state lines for different reasons. Right. And so it's probably, a pretty good location just to be able to make it anywhere you want to be, I would imagine.
Well, it is. And we now have the busiest airport in the state. So servicing Bozeman, servicing Big Sky, and our FBO at the airport, is extremely busy with private jets. But we now have over 23 to 25 direct flight cities. We just opened up a direct flight to Charlotte, North Carolina. So don't tell too many people about it, though.
Okay, I won't. So tell me, what are some of the reasons why? Let's just keep it to Californians, because I know you work with a lot of Californians moving in there. Why are Californians moving in there? Is it taxes? Is it financial? Is it quality of life? What are some of the reasons that you find are most, some of the biggest reasons? Sorry.
Well, the biggest reason, and I won't unpack it for a variety of reasons, but the number one reason is politics.
Right.
Number one. And then I would say the second reason is a very close second would be taxes.
Okay.
So
tell us about the
tax accountant is still located in California, and he lets us know each year, what our differential in taxes would be if we lived in California still versus Montana based upon our earnings, and it is quite significant.
Really? Do you have a percentage or like an example that you can share?
Well, without going into personal, I think I can give a number. I think our taxes each year would be about 60% more that we were paying if we, living here versus living in California. We'd be paying about 60% more in California, and that's fairly significant. We also don't have a sales tax here in Montana.
Okay.
So, that is a factor to folks too, especially with fixed income.
In that 60%, is that really, state income tax and federal tax or corporate tax? Like, what does that really incorporate?
State and federal income tax.
Okay. And then
now,
no sales tax.
Property taxes are also a lot lower here too.
What are the property taxes there generally?
Okay, well, you're accustomed in California to having your property tax be 1% of your purchase price. And though I've gone to the tax assessor's office no less than 15 times to try and figure out the formula here, there's a difference whether if I'm living in the city of Bozeman, which I do, I pay both city taxes and Gallatin County taxes. So I'm paying both of them. If I'm out in the county, I'm just paying Gallatin County. But I equate it and don't hold me to it. It really depends upon where you're living. But as opposed to 1%, it roughly equates more to about 0.75%.
Okay.
Would be more of your property taxes here.
Okay. Awesome. And then, I mean, you were also telling me about, actually, before we get into quality of life, because I know that's a big piece as well, but what about, are people moving there to retire? Are there new jobs being formed? You talked about the economy briefly. So what is kind of making up the economy in the drive there? Well,
and that's a really good question, because as you heard me say a moment ago, we have a very diverse economy in the city of Bozeman, the Bozeman surrounding area, and a big factor in that. So when I moved here, when my family, my husband and I moved here, there were several things that I was looking at. My graduate degree is in trend analysis. And so I looked at it from that perspective, and we wanted great weather. And Bozeman averages over 325 days of sun a year.
Really?
I know when I hear from my Californians, they don't want to leave the sun. And you're going to get a whole lot more here than you are in Northern California. Yes, we do have all 4 seasons, but it is very dry. And so it makes winter here very enjoyable. We are just as busy and just as active in the wintertime as we are in the summertime. So weather, I wanted good sun and I wanted great weather. And it is very diversified across the state. We're only 4th in size next to Alaska, California, Texas, and then Montana. So large topography and very diverse weather. So great weather. One of great natural resources. We have an abundance of water. I have a great client from San Francisco that he buys property here just because we have water. And education is very important here. And I also wanted to go back to, I grew up in the military and lived in a lot of towns with strong universities. And to me, a university and a strong university, we have Montana State University here in Bozeman, which is a good engineering, ag, business school, technical school, very high tech. And I'm going to touch on that in a moment. So we have a strong university. And again, we have the busiest airport in the state. So as you and I were talking, I was down in Cabo for a couple of days last week, just got back yesterday. It is quicker for me to get to Cabo from Montana, a flight to Salt Lake City and then on to Cabo. I can get there. My children are in Connecticut and Oregon. Yeah. I can get to the southern tip of the Baja Peninsula quicker than I can Portland and Hartford, Connecticut. Wow. So it makes travel very easy. Now, that also helps our economy. And we also have a very growing high-tech sector here in Bozeman. We have strong medicine, we have a strong university, and we have a strong high-tech center here. So Oracle is here. They bought out Right Now Technology several years ago. And we also have a growing laser industry here in the Bozeman area. So many different laser companies here. So a very diverse mix, strong economy.
And it sounds like it's growing as well, right? So people, it sounds like people are moving there not only for personal reasons, but also for professional reasons as well, and new jobs and relocations in that sector.
Absolutely. We have a second hospital coming out of the ground now, which will generate a lot of jobs as well. And it's needed to serve the population here because we also service a surrounding area, not just Bozeman. And, we have great restaurants. We have, great music here in Montana, a variety of different cities, not just Bozeman, but Missoula is really strong in the music and entertainment industry. And, and being a university town, we get a lot of cultural events and concerts here that a town of, say, 50,000 people wouldn't normally have.
Yeah, that's right. Well, and so I mean, you talked about the being a micropolitan as well. Maybe just touch on that really quick because I found that pretty interesting. I haven't heard about that, but also your estimation that getting out of the micropolitan designation.
Well, of course, we don't have the numbers yet for 2020, and we probably won't have those for a couple of months. But for the years 2017, 18, and 19, Bozeman was the fastest growing micropolitan in the U.S. Now, a micropolitan is a town of 50,000 people or less. That's not including the surrounding area. That's the incorporated town of Bozeman. And I expect that we will come out of that this year. Now, I do believe that based on a voting population and who lives here full time. But again, we were already on that trajectory before COVID hit.
Right.
And then COVID hit. And I remember being down in Arizona for spring break when, the world went to hell in a handbasket and coming back going, my biggest concern, everyone's biggest concern was toilet paper at the time, and I came back going, well, do we even have a company or what's going on? And, and things were kind of mellow for about 2 to 3 weeks. And then the phone calls started coming and the online hits. And I mean, we had 34 online hits to our website just yesterday. So, and as you and I were talking a couple of moments ago, in looking at the city of Bozeman, just in the city of Bozeman, I've got to use some, parameters. Right. Under $600,000, a condo, townhome, or single family home, there are only 6 on the market.
Yeah, that's what you're mentioning. So, well, I mean, with that in mind, tell us about the homes that people are coming out to buy, right? Like they're finding value, I'm sure, in the real estate there. And so what is it that they're looking for in the homes, and what are the type of homes on average that they're buying?
Okay. So Bozeman also is in conjunction with being the fastest growing micropolitan. For years, Bozeman's been on everyone's top 10 list. Top 10 list to have a family, top 10 list to live as a single person, top 10 list to own a dog, top 10 list to retire. We do have a very vibrant community for all ages. So there are people retiring here that maybe they have a house here that they live in or a condo or a townhome that They want something that's easy to lock and go, and they live here for 6 months, and then Arizona is a big second home market for us.
Okay.
You're going to have a lot of students that want to stay here after going to Montana State. Because it's just a great place to live. They love to ski, they love to fly fish, they love to mountain bike, they love to climb. I mean, there's all kinds of things to do here. I always say I'm an avid baseball and softball mom, and I'm a freaking rabid hockey mom. We do love our winter sports here.
That's right.
But we have a wide range of folks moving here, and not everybody wants to come and have land, because I always look at people and say, okay, well, now you have the land. What are you going to do with the land? Because once you have land, and coming from having lived in Southern California, land is kind of a strange bird, because we don't have a lot of it there. If you've got 8 or a 10,000 square foot lot, you've got a plantation. Yeah. So here, people may have 5, 10, 20, 300 acres. But when owning land, you've got to have a plan for the land, or Mother Nature does. And Mother Nature's not always the best business partner when it comes to land. You got to manage it.
Yeah, that's right. So, I guess that might be a misconception, right? I would think that people moving to Montana are looking to get, 8 acres or hundreds of acres, and there's just like a whole lot of land in between homes. But maybe that's just a misconception. But most people you're finding are coming in and buying a variety, but that's not necessarily primarily what they're buying. They're really coming for maybe like a more city-like or residential type of neighborhood.
We have a lot of folks that move here that want a downtown condo. We've got brand new condos going up downtown that are, shockingly, I do laugh when the Californians come into town and they're like, my gosh, that's what my California property costs. And, we have condos downtown, 1 bedroom in the 600,000 and 700,000 up to 2 million for something bigger, because people like Bozeman is a very charming Western town. And the city has done a magnificent job of keeping it very quaint, with a lot of smaller boutique shops downtown. And so even folks from Big Sky, we've got folks in Big Sky that own maybe just a 1 or 2 bedroom place here in Bozeman, because when they're in Big Sky at their bigger home, they want to come down and spend a couple of nights in town, or they want to come into town for the football or basketball games, or, maybe a concert, or, different festivals that we have in town. They want a downtown place to go because we have great restaurants, and the walkability factor, in real estate, that's a big term for us, but the walkability factor in Bozeman is very high. And even though I live in town, I don't live right downtown, I can walk downtown if I want, and I can ride my bike, and even occasionally see horses coming downtown.
That's nice. Well, and so you're saying that the prices may range just depending on being in town to maybe stretching a little bit out of town and getting more land. But similar to California, you're saying condos can range around the 500,000, 600,000, 700,000, and detached homes are around $1 million, maybe even going over that? Or what would be the price ranges for?
I'm going to say most in-town homes, you're probably looking at a range of between 600,000 to 900,000.
Okay.
If you're putting a little bit of acreage, maybe a quarter to a half to an acre on that, you're pushing over $1 million for a home that's got, let's quantify that and say, 3 to 4 bedrooms or up.
Yeah. Okay.
2,800 square feet and up.
Okay. All right. So, that's kind of similar to some California markets, right? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, so talk to me then about the quality of life, because I know, you were really excited about that in when we talked a few minutes ago as well. You talked about skiing, you talked about fly fishing and some of these other things, and just really being generally outdoors, which a lot of Californians, I think, came here for in the first place if they moved. So tell me about what life is like in terms of the lifestyle there in the Bozeman area.
Well, we've had about one of the mildest winters, on record. I mean, sometimes I can go outside my office. I'm right downtown, and I can go outside my office, and snow is piled above my Tahoe.
Yeah.
Right now, we barely have any snow. It's just been a really warm winter, and I always say, I pray to God every night that we don't have it in April and May. That's not exactly when we want
Yeah.
it, though we take it because that's our water for the summer, and that's what helps us keep the fires down in the summer.
Right.
Quality of life is pretty exceptional. The people are extremely friendly here. The weather, as I said, we average over 325 days of sun a year. Now in the winter, that might mean we get a foot of snow overnight or in the morning, and then the sun's out and it's crystal
Yeah.
clear in the afternoon. But again, I'll take snow over rain any day of the year, and I'll take dry air over humidity that I grew up in. And so there's something to say about that. It might be 25 degrees out and sunny, and I may have on a turtleneck and a vest, where my parents back in Virginia, it might be 45 degrees and raining, and they're bundled up, looking like they're going to the Arctic. That
Yeah.
dry versus humidity really makes a huge difference in
Yeah.
that variable. And so people coming from Seattle and Portland like the sun and the dryness as well. Education, our schools are really top notch here. And again, we have a strong university, so that is a big variable. When I look back, because I moved here during the recession, Bozeman was one of those areas that it didn't fall as hard, it rebounded quicker, and it rebounded stronger. And I think a lot of it really had to do with our diversified economy, the university,
Yeah.
and just a great quality of education for all ages here in
Yeah.
town.
That's a good point and something to note. I mean, we also saw that, on the coasts, right, on both coasts of the United States, we tend to see higher fluctuations in, appreciation and then larger downswings, right? And then the middle of the United States, the appreciation is more like on a schedule, more gradual line, right?
Right.
So they weren't as impacted in terms of, in terms of the market crash, and they rebounded pretty quickly.
Right.
So that's good to know. Now, you were telling me also that part of your housing market earlier was because, or is really strong because of the lack of inventory.
Mm-hmm.
Right. You guys had 6 homes on the market, and you're telling me a little bit about the control, the constraints on the growth. So, which I think that people moving to Montana would really appreciate, because I would believe that people moving there don't really want to see a huge amount of growth. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that's another misconception.
Well, no, they don't. So again, I know it's just you and me talking. No one else is going to see this interview. Let's just say that we're a town of 50,000 people. Okay. Our constraint to building, because I've worked in and around the big builders of, Orange County and Irvine and the Irvine Company and John Lang Homes and Toll Brothers and Shea Homes. And, I've worked all around those and sold many of those homes, but everything is scalable and relative. And we're not necessarily a market where that one of those developers is going to come in and say, hey, we're going to build a major development over here and put in 5,000 homes. I mean, we don't quite have that demand. We just relativity wise, we're not there. And one of our bigger constraints that I was sharing with you is water and sewer. Not that we don't have water, but the county and the state are very measured and calculated to maintain our aquifer and our water resources and sewer capacity. So whether you're looking to connect to city water and sewer, well, that puts constraints on our water and sewer system. We have to have measured growth. And right now we have far more demand than what is currently being built.
Right.
And then even if you look at doing a community, maybe with well and sewer, by the time you put in wells and sewer systems and maybe a development, maybe within an amenity or two, you're looking at lots here for those types of developments that are easily in the high 3s or low 4s. Well, by the time you put a custom home on that, you're easily at $1.5 million, maybe $1.2 million, $1.5 million. Your average person here in Montana cannot afford that home. So our entry level sort of first time home buyers are struggling right now to find something at even $350,000 to $450,000.
Yeah. I know the feeling here in San Diego, kind of, some similar thing.
Yep.
First time home buyer is struggling to get into 800,000, for
Yep.
a detached home. And that's kind of crazy.
Yeah. It's tough. And interest rates are helping, and they're almost helping too much.
Yeah. Creating too much demand. Right.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. So Pollyanna, before we wrap it up, I do have a video that you shared with me, kind of introducing the area, which I can't wait to play as well, for the guest. But wrapping this up, is there anything else that you would like people to know about the Bozeman area or Montana that maybe they aren't thinking about? If they're thinking about leaving California and going to some other state, what's the last thing that you want to make sure that they walked away with today, knowing about Montana?
Well, the city and the surrounding area will be very happy that I share with you that, and I'm going to try and put this in a very tactful manner, but your reasons for leaving where you are, we would very much appreciate if you're not bringing those same expectations here. We want you to embrace and accept Montana and its beauty and its natural resources for what it is and its beliefs. Longtime Montanans and even those of us that have been here, gosh, now going on 12 years, again, whatever you're electing to leave, please don't try and bring those same issues and problems with you. That's
Right.
number one. One of the questions that you asked me, Gary, was what was it? What is the biggest complaint after people settle in?
Oh yeah.
Well, the biggest complaint is, my gosh, there are more of those people coming here and they're bringing those same issues. But on a lighter note, I am going to tell you, we do not have a Trader Joe's in the state of Montana. So anybody listening that may have some influence over that, Bozeman would very much
Love a Trader Joe's.
Bozeman is getting a Whole Foods, though, and they're in the process of building it right now. So
Nice.
Forever I always heard, well, you don't have Trader Joe's and you don't have Whole Foods. So
well, and again, to the first statement that you made, I think that the people right now considering leaving California for one reason or another, I mean, let's call them pioneers, right? Like you and I are talking about Cabo. Like I'm intending on retiring there someday. That's why I started a business there also. And my wife and I keep talking about wanting to write a book, and I swear this will actually be relevant when I finish the story. But we keep talking about wanting to write a book about how to basically get through all the nuances of moving to Cabo. Because in the last year, just even setting up your electrical, bill is just a challenge. There's so many things that we've learned that we didn't realize, etc. But the people who have all figured out says, don't actually share that with anybody else, because we don't want everybody coming here, because we have this little thing, right? We have this community that we built. And I think that the people that are thinking about leaving California, or just they're adventurers or they're pioneers, right? Just like back in the mid 1800s when the gold rush came, everyone's like, I'm going out to California for greener pastures and whatever that was. It's the same thing, just in reverse now. We have a reverse migratory pattern that's very notable. And I think people that are really opening themselves to the idea of look, here's how life has been for 20, 30, 40, 50, maybe their family's been in the same community for 100 years. And now they're like, I'm open to exploration. And so what you're just suggesting is, hey, look, if you're going out to explore, love it for what it is, and come here to start a new life and get the things that you want without bringing some of the challenging baggage that, even whether it was from California or any state, I think, you know what I mean? Just be open to new opportunities. And I think that's what this whole thing is all about. Just a new way of looking at life, and that was accentuated and made more relevant during COVID. So,
right.
Anyhow, okay, I'm going to play your video. So thank you very much, Pollyanna, for joining us today. Tell Brett I said hello. I'm sorry I didn't get to chat with him too, but we're going to chat much more in the future. So
thanks, Gary. I'm always here as a resource. Would love to have you come visit.
Likewise. Thank you so much. Here we go.
You got it.
Sorry, I muted us. I was saying thank you so much for sharing with us. That was a great video, and I loved all the depictions of in the visuals. So thank
Great.
you.
Thanks, Gary. Let me know if I can help again.
Bye-bye.
You got it. Bye.